Hey guys, today we're looking back at some of your favourite Am I the A-hole stories from last year. Imagine you're sitting at work, scrolling Reddit, and you come across a post that the further you read, the more eerily similar it sounds to your own life. Well, this may have actually happened. Am I the a-hole for letting you know I'm divorcing you by sending you a thread on the website you used to ignore me? Post by Hotline 8325. Hi Stephen, maybe you'll finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything into the car and left. Don't worry, I spoke with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for the next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you're gonna act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong, and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down to you in a language you'll understand. I, 29 female, have been married to my husband, 35 male, for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. On paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my mother-in-law has been a nightmare. She made everything about herself from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me, from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering, right in front of everyone. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. And oh, it didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home. But every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women's boobs on Reddit than talking to me, literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10, they were a 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do that, but he can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me. But he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic buddy at the end of his sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans. The house, the dishes, laundry, you name it, it's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional, as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My mother-in-law started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft. When I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence over our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he just laughed it off, saying his mother means well and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future childcare and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him that I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid and said I should get over it because his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life, whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear for what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in. A place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Oh, and did I mention he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. It turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi! He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I need to know about where I stand in his life. So, I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So, Stephen, I wish you all the best in your future marriage with your mother and the women of Reddit whose boobs you don't even deserve. Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years, let his mother mistreat me, and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? Down in the comments, Strange Loop says, imagine bro sitting down and reading this. At first like, wow, imagine if this was actually for me. Wait, oh, that might be me because, oh my god, the necklace thing? The ultrasound? Mom! Update. So she starts off by saying that a bunch of trolls, possibly her ex and his friends, have been making a bunch of fake posts about how she supposedly cheated on him with an ex, had a ton of affairs, was a deadbeat mooching off him, etc. Basically, just trying to smear her. She confirmed that none of this was true. She's never cheated, and isn't even friends with her neighbours, and actually earns more than him. She goes on to say, I'm safe and staying with family. I'm working with my lawyer to ensure our safety, and that's all I can disclose at this time. As for recent developments, there hasn't been much new. Stephen is clearly desperate. He and my mother-in-law have both had meltdowns and launched separate smear campaigns. My mother-in-law has spread false claims, including that I'm an unfit mother and that I've been abandoning my responsibilities. I don't plan on answering these claims publicly. I'm collecting all the evidence I have, especially since she has nothing to back up her accusations, but I have everything to back up mine. So, no, Stephen, this isn't going to be a he said, she said situation. When I tried to talk to Stephen, he always made me feel like I was going crazy. Whenever I raised concerns or expressed feelings, he would dismiss them, belittle my emotions, and make me second guess myself. For instance, I'd come home to find that he'd invited people over without informing me in advance. When I brought it up, he'd insist that he'd mentioned it earlier, even though I knew he hadn't. Another time, I'd planned a special meal and asked him for a specific dish, but he claimed I requested something completely different. When I reminded him of what I actually asked for, he'd argued that I must have forgotten my own request. Stephen would also insist that he'd completed tasks that I had actually done myself. For example, he would claim he handled a household chore when I was the one who actually took care of it. And when I pointed this out, he'd dismiss my recollection and insist that he had done it. Even in conversations about our relationship, Stephen would frequently deny things he'd said or done. If I brought up issues I had with his mother's behaviour, he'd claim, "You've never mentioned this before. You're just being overdramatic." This made me question whether I'd ever truly discussed these problems, or if I was indeed overreacting. At one point, I was so convinced I had early onset dementia or schizophrenia that I started to question my own sanity. I felt lost and confused, struggling to distinguish between reality and his version of events. I began to document our interactions, just to keep track of what was actually happening. But Stephen would always find a way to twist things, saying, "You must be misremembering," even though I had clear evidence to the contrary. Feeling so powerless, I realized that sharing my story online was the only way to present my truth in a manner he couldn't manipulate. I wanted to ensure that there was a clear, unchangeable record of what actually happened. Posting about my experiences was a crucial step in reclaiming my voice and finding support from others who might understand my situation. It was a way to take control of my narrative after feeling so lost and doubting myself for so long. Thank you all for your support during this difficult time. Down in the comments, Fly Flirty in 50 says, "Dear OP, you've just given the classic definition of gaslighting. When someone dismisses your feelings, tells you you're being dramatic, and tries to twist the facts to make you question what you know to be true by saying it never happened, or that you're misremembering things. You are well and truly rid of him. Congratulations again. Stay strong for you and your baby girl." It will be difficult for a while as you write out the smear campaigns, but it will die down eventually. If you have to, ask your lawyer to draft a cease and desist, or go to the police for a harassment report. You need as much of a paper trail as you can get. His BS is out in the open now, and he is exposed for the mama's boy he is. He can't alter the facts moving forward, and you're definitely doing the right thing. Just remember that. Am I the a-hole for publicly calling out a friend for sending my fiancé inappropriate messages? Post by a throwaway. I know the title makes it seem absolutely obvious, but let me explain. My fiancé Josh has a close friend group of guys from college who we see rather regularly, at least the ones that stayed in our city, including his best friend, Matt. Matt's wife, Addison, has a friend Lila who was integrated into their group before I met my now fiancé. So apparently Lila had a crush on my fiancé before I met him and even tried to get Addison to set them up. Josh made it clear he wasn't interested. Unfortunately, it seems she never gave up hope that he would come around. Fast forward to Josh and I meeting. We were really hitting it off, so he wanted to introduce me to his friends. We met up with everyone for drinks one night, and apparently Lila wasn't given the heads up that Josh was in a relationship. The look on this girl's face when he introduced me was somewhere between pure disgust and shock. Everyone else was friendly and welcoming, but she was icy. And Addison was a little quiet at first, but then warmed up. I get it, she was probably just trying to be loyal to a BFF that had a crush. Fast forward about a year. Matt and Addison were getting married, with Josh being the best man. And, of course, Lila, maid of honor. I didn't feel any sort of way about it because I'm secure in my relationship. He's not interested in her, and he just had to walk down the aisle with her. Matt and Addison even set it up so he could sit with me at the reception, much to Lila's displeasure. Well, at the reception, she kept coming over and trying to flirt with Josh, saying to not forget that the best man is required to dance with a maid of honor, which he flatly just told her that's not a thing. That's so embarrassing. Girl, he wasn't interested when he was single. He's not gonna be interested now that he has a partner. Well, about 2 weeks ago, we got engaged. Yay! They have a group chat, which I was added into once I'd established my own friendships and wasn't just Josh's girlfriend, where people organise pub nights, beach trips, etc. Josh announced our engagement in it a day later, and everyone, other than, you guessed it, Lila, congratulated us. Huge shock, right? Well, now to the issue. We're here for Friday night, around 1-2 am-ish, and apparently, Lila decided to message Josh, privately. The first was something like, I was just thinking about you, followed up with a semi-nude photo. Then, you're not married yet, and a bunch of other really inappropriate stuff. He didn't see it until we woke up yesterday morning. We were just chilling in bed, checking emails, etc. And he just says, "What the F?" Then hands his phone to me. Obviously, I was pissed off, as was he. So he just shot back a message telling her that it was highly inappropriate and disrespectful, and to not contact him again. She then attempts to backpedal with excuses. I was drunk, and then, oops, I sent it to the wrong person, don't tell OP. The last part pushed me over the edge, and I asked him to screenshot it to me. I told him I wouldn't include the photo, revenge porn is never okay. But I was going to post it into the group chat because this is the last straw, as long as he was fine with me doing so. So I did, and I said that we were done with this disrespect and would no longer be engaging with someone who would do something like this. Not the most mature on my part, but I think everyone needed to know. And wow, did the chat light up. Lila pretty much left the chat immediately, but everyone else was so shocked that she would do that. Lila went crying to Addison because she said I bullied her, who feels somewhat torn because she wishes it was handled privately. But Lila's only escalated any attempts to shut it down. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for putting her on blast by posting a text to my fiancé in the group chat to hold her accountable? Everyone else is disgusted with her, but my fiancé's best friend's wife feels it should have been handled privately. If you'd handled it privately, she 100% would have lied and tried to twist the story against you. I mean, that's basically what she's trying to do anyway with Addison. I agree revenge porn is never okay, but airing out her actions publicly with receipts was definitely warranted here. Down in the comments, Apprehensive Dot says, so, let me get this straight. She repeatedly pursued your fiancé after repeatedly being told no respectfully, privately and by Addison, completely disrespects you, and tramples all over your fiancé and your boundaries, then has the gall to expect you to give her respect by handling it privately? Respect is given when earned. Blow that group chat up and show the group what their friend is really like. Not the a-hole for sure. Maybe buy her a dictionary with the word respect highlighted in tabs because she clearly has no idea what the word means. Opie responded and said she exited the group chat so quick once I posted it. I did note that there was basically a nude photo that was sent, but said that I had too much class to send it. I have zero respect for that shamelessness. Also, not to my face, but apparently she made some comments when we started dating that she didn't think I was his type. And one of our other friends said, well, we know it isn't his type for sure, and she got mad. I think her bad behaviour was tolerated for too long. When you keep pushing, eventually you're gonna push too far, or push the wrong person. Opie also adds, one of the other women, who is a longtime partner to one of Josh's closest friends, texted me privately with some choice names for her, and told me that Lila has tried to hook up with her boyfriend of 9 years when she was on a long-term work trip, so we feel similar about her. Update, 3 days later. Onto the fallout. Josh and I are obviously fine. That was never going to be an issue. He's amazing. We communicate well and don't have any secrets. Matt came over to talk to Josh and apologise, although he had nothing to apologise for. He had a long talk with Addison about how he felt it was way out of line to tell me it should have been handled privately. He said he told Addison that Lila is an issue in their relationship as well, because she always invites herself along when they're doing things or going out as a couple. She constantly complains and then always gets too drunk, so she has to spend the night. I guess he has said something in the past, but she's always let Lila steamroll her. He put his foot down and said she needs to set boundaries with her, and they need to take time apart. She agreed, but expressed her fear of Lila's reaction. Well, apparently that conversation went about as bad as you'd think. She decided to do it over a phone call, and Lila lost her mind. She accused me of gaslighting. I'm pretty sure she doesn't know what that actually means. Then she tried to explain what happened again, which went from, it was sent to the wrong person, to, it wasn't even a big deal, to, Josh has always led her on, so she thought he wanted it. What? To, she was so wasted, she doesn't remember sending it. And to finally blaming Addison for not trying hard enough to hook them up. When Addison finally told Lila that they need time apart so she can focus on her marriage and work, she absolutely lost it. She told her that she can't end a long-term friendship over the phone, so she was going to come over because she owes it to her to say it to her face. Josh told Addison to let Lila know that she wouldn't be let in and the cops would be called. She hung up and they both blocked her number. This girl really is insane. So, which was it? Did she text the wrong person, or did she think that Josh led her on and wanted it? It couldn't be both. I had a talk with Addison, and she apologised for trying to smooth things over, because she didn't want to deal with the wrath of Lila, as she'd seen her go off on other people in the past. I forgave her, but I'm going to move slowly with that friendship to see what her actions show. I do feel bad, because that was an obviously toxic friendship, which seems to have some kind of trauma bond, but I'm not a psychiatrist. I just never want to get in the way of Josh's friendships, and I know Matt is very important to him. The funny thing is, Addison was the only one she had an individual relationship with, so she pretty much cut herself off from everyone. She never had any interest in building female friendships because she's more of a guy's gal, and girls are always jealous of her. So she's at least gone for now, but regardless of whether her and Addison eventually reconnect, we're having nothing to do with her ever again. All of this actually tightened my friendship with Sarah, who's a longtime partner of another one of Josh's friends, and she's been a major supporter. We always go along really well. She's come out for girls' nights with my other friends and I too. She was ready to go to war for me. So that's the silver lining of all of this. I hate drama. Honestly, it worries me that this person is shaping young minds for a living because she's obviously not mentally or emotionally well. I love my partner more than I ever knew was possible, but somehow this just made us even more solid. I'm pretty sure we haven't heard the last from her, but she has no power over my life, so that's that. I guess the moral of the story is, don't be a pushy hoe bag and send unwanted photos and texts. No means no, kids. Am I the a-hole for coming to dinner basically topless? Posted by Conflict Active 222. I've dreaded posting for a while because I'm afraid I might be the a-hole, but I just gotta know, so here goes. My parents-in-law and brother-in-law came to stay with me and my husband for a month after I had my baby. The baby was 3 months old at the time and I breastfed her. Usually, I'd just nurse on the couch in the living room, but because we had company, I'd go to my bedroom. After I nursed her, she'd fall asleep and take a nap, and I'd have some free time. Since family was visiting, I tried to plan her naps around our mealtime to spend time with the family uninterrupted. My mother-in-law has this thing that when food is on the table, you be there, pronto. Sometimes I'd be late coming to a meal because babies can be unpredictable, and she won't fall asleep right away or need to be nursed longer than normal. To this, my mother-in-law would barge into my room and announce the food was ready, all impatient. This startled my baby and made the process much longer than it should have. The result is I had to eat much later than everyone else, alone, and the food was cold. It left me fuming. More work to do with the baby, and I'm secluded. This happened several times. I asked my husband to talk to her and explain that I can't always come on time. He talked to her, but she continued to do it anyway. So, I simply decided to stop being late to dinner. The next time she barged into my room and announced that food was ready, I came without hesitation. I came to the table exactly how I was. No shirt, half a bra, and a baby hanging on one tit. Nothing was seen as the baby's head covered up everything anyway, but still, ensued uproar. Mother-in-law exclaimed, "What the hell are you doing at the table like this? You're indecent! There are men at this table! You should be ashamed!" I yelled back, "Why the hell do you keep calling me to the table when I'm not ready yet? There's obviously a reason I'm alone in my room with my baby, while everyone else is out having a great time together." Brother-in-law and father-in-law were trying to not get into the argument. My husband ushered me back into my room and scolded me, taking his mother's side. He gets him frustrated but says this action didn't help anything. But after that, mother-in-law didn't bother me again while I was busy with the baby. So what if I came to some meals a little after everyone else had started eating? The roof didn't cave in. Anyways, everyone lived happily ever after. The end. Am I the a-hole? Down in the comments, Thinking Too Loud says, "Not the a-hole, a well-placed piece of malicious compliance." Reads Otherwise 5650 says, "Love it. I'd be pissed at the husband though. You had your chance to talk to her. Either you weren't trying hard enough to be convincing, or she didn't care. If you're pissed, go talk to her. I just did what she asked. Next time, nut up and actually handle your mother before I have to get my tits out at the dinner table." Hat on the Cat says, "Yup, tell your husband you're disappointed in him. He should have handled his own family. If he knows how to usher a woman away and scold them, he should have done this to his mother every single time she interrupted you and woke the baby. I tell your husband if he doesn't learn to control his mother, she can't stay." Am I the a-hole for making my husband feel bad about having his mother over for dinner? Posted by Alone Definition 9627. My husband and I have been together for 6 years. Combined, we have 4 children. My step-babies are 12 and 10. My bi-babies are 9 and 3 months. Obviously, the youngest is our together baby. Now, since I gave birth, I've had a very hard time eating. I can be super hungry, but more often than not, if I actually think about eating, I feel nauseated or just grossed out and can't actually bring myself to eat actual meals. Stuff like crackers or finger food are fine, but big meals just really sicken me. The thought of eating it anyway. So, since I've had our daughter, I've eaten a total of maybe 5 hot meals. Yes, I've absolutely been in full contact with doctors and they're monitoring me, and we're trying to come up with a game plan. But anyway, given this, I hardly ever eat dinner. I usually cook it, plate it out for my husband and kids, and then leave my plate empty because I can't stomach it. But here's where I could be wrong. My husband knows I have a very hard time eating. Most days, he tries force-feeding me, honestly. But yesterday, I texted him saying, "Making shepherd's pie tonight, drooling emoji. I can't wait." I didn't say I was going to eat, so maybe that's where I went wrong? But on the other hand, I never text him with a drooling emoji after saying I'm making something either, so maybe he should have picked up on that? I don't know. I was starving anyway, and I was actually looking forward to having dinner. So, I get done cooking and call everyone to the table, as I usually do. And the next thing I know, my mother-in-law is walking through the door saying, "I hope I'm not late," and then sits down in my seat and grabs the extra plate meant for me. I guess I was kind of shell-shocked because, I just stood there. I didn't even know what to say. Mother-in-law just started digging into the dish before my kids were even served too, which pissed me off. I don't like saying out-of-pocket things in front of my kids, so I just told them to dig in and start walking off. My stepson, a 12-year-old boy, whispered, "But Dad, I think Mum was going to eat tonight." And my husband said, "Babe, were you going to eat tonight? You can take my helping." I just ignored him because I was so mad I couldn't think of anything to say at that moment. I needed to cool off. I told my stepson, "It's fine," with a smile and went to the other room. Well, after my mother-in-law left, my husband came out and asked me, "What was that about?" and said, "You could have taken my meal, babe. It's not a big deal." I kind of snapped and said he shouldn't have even invited his mother over to eat without asking me, without knowing if I was hungry or not. I brought up the fact that I'd literally texted him a drooling emoji indicating that I was indeed hungry or excited for the meal. He just said, "Yeah, but you never eat. Now I feel like an effing loser. Thanks," and walked off. My stepson unfortunately overheard this, and he came out with his plate and handed it to me and said, "I stole some more before it was eaten so you could have some, Mum." Literally the sweetest effing kid, I swear. But now I feel like an a-hole because I never really do eat hot meals, so it was safe for my husband to assume that last night would be no different. And the fact that my stepson felt he needed to do something about it as well. Am I the a-hole? My husband is still sulking over this. Even your stepson noticed that you were going to eat, and he didn't even get the drooling emoji as a clue. Edit. I only make enough for the people who are supposed to be here, myself included. I always make myself a portion as I never know how I'm going to feel about eating, but every night I only make enough for us. My husband knows this because there's never any leftovers. The portion my stepson brought me was maybe half a scoop. As for my mother-in-law, she always does stuff like that. In her eyes, adults come first, hence why she grabbed food before the kids had been served. Because the adults worked all day. What about the mother who cooked it? By that logic, shouldn't you be served first? My husband doesn't hold the same view, but never speaks up to her when she does it. My mother-in-law and I don't get along and never have, so she probably wouldn't have cared even if she knew that I wanted to eat. We usually don't speak. Also, her taking my seat meant there was nowhere else to sit. I had no other option than to leave the room. And despite my husband offering me his serving, he stayed seated while dishing out his plate without looking at me while he was offering it. I know him well enough to know that means he was hungry and banking on eating regardless of having offered up his plate. Down in the comments, DBGirl83 says, "Not the a-hole. If a 12-year-old boy sees it, your husband should too. Your mother-in-law taking so much food when 3 children needed to eat from it is disrespectful. But your husband inviting someone over without telling you or asking you while you're the one making dinner, that's the problem here." Yeah, and doesn't your husband care that you're starving and recovering from birthing his child? Even after the mistake was revealed, he seriously cared more about filling his own belly? Shame he can't dump the husband and mother-in-law and keep the stepkids. Am I the a-hole for getting an expensive birthday gift for the girlfriend of my roommate? Posted by Money Internal 9716. About 4 months ago, my roommate, 25 male, started dating a woman, Cindy, 25 female. She's been spending a lot of time at our apartment because it's closer to her job. We all get along great, and I, 26 male, don't have a problem with her coming over. Last week, I was doing my laundry in the bathroom. We have a separated laundry basket. I use the left side and my roommate uses the right side. When I grabbed my clothes, I saw that Cindy threw some of her clothes in our laundry basket as well. A shirt, some shorts, and some panties. I noticed her underwear looked really old and washed out. I work at a really nice lingerie store and get employees discount. I often used it to buy my ex loungewear or lingerie, and she likes it. As I knew that Cindy's birthday was coming up, I decided to buy her new underwear as a gift. I checked the size tag on her clothes and bought her the gift the next day. Yesterday was her birthday. Cindy stayed over, and my roommate woke up early to decorate our apartment. When she woke up, we all had breakfast, and my roommate told her that he'd made a reservation at a new restaurant in our city. Cindy was really happy and excited, and I wished her a happy birthday. My roommate told her that she would get her gift later, and she pouted. I thought it was the perfect moment to surprise her with my gift. She was genuinely surprised that I got her something, and told me she didn't expect that. I brought her my gift, and she unwrapped it. She was a bit overwhelmed when she saw that I gifted her expensive underwear, but she thanked me after I explained that I used my employee discount. My roommate gave me an angry look, and both of them left our apartment after finishing their food and getting dressed. He later texted me that I crossed a boundary, and that made Cindy uncomfortable. I saw on his Instagram story that they stayed at a hotel overnight, and when I came home from work today, they were gone again, so I couldn't discuss the incident with them. I get that gifting expensive gifts can be tricky, but it wasn't my intention to upstage my roommate or make Cindy feel like I spent too much money on her. I already told them that I used my employee discount, but maybe it was still too pricey for them. I guess I should have discussed a price range for a gift with her before getting her something. Am I the a-hole? Mate, I don't think this was about how much money you spent. More that you bought your roommate's girlfriend lingerie. What the F? Salty Pathwater makes a good point. These movie moments, when you innocently see their underwear size, just doesn't happen in my life. You know what else doesn't happen in my life? Underwear that's worn out, but the size tag is still crisp and easy to read. I Delight Bra says, and what woman doesn't love to wear her oldest, most worn out looking underwear to sleep over with a guy she's only been dating for a few months? And then you absolutely leave your embarrassing underwear there for his roommate, Taylor's oldest time, and leave them there to be washed? Okay, so this guy's either super inappropriate and oblivious, or this is a fake post just messing with us. Am I the a-hole for wanting my mum to stop sleeping with my boyfriend's dad? Posted by a throwaway account. Hi everyone, I know from the title this may sound a little odd, so here's the background. I, 20 female, found out that my parents, 53 male and female, are swingers about a year ago. Ever since, they've been pretty open about it with me, excluding details of course. My mum and I are really close, so we talk about some of her friends sometimes, and I've always been open to and supportive of their lifestyle. If anything, it's made my parents' perfect, almost untouchable relationship seem more real, and I started seeing them as more human. It's definitely improved our relationship and created a different level of understanding. I shared more details about my life with them, and so did they. Now, fast forward to a few months ago. My mum told me that one of her friends, who she insisted was only a friend, has a son that she really wants to introduce me to. She said he's kind, sweet, and overall a really great guy. Of course, I jumped to the chance and was overwhelmed with excitement about the first guy my mum has ever brought to my attention. I went over to his work and introduced myself to him that same day. I hadn't even seen a picture of him, but the moment I saw him walk around the corner with his big smile, I fell in love. We fell head over heels for each other and kind of rushed into a relationship. We moved in with each other, met each other's families, and overall had a great relationship, better than either of us had ever had before. A few days ago, we were on a date, and while at dinner, the couple next to us were getting quite loud and drunk. So, naturally, I listened into their conversation. I then said to my boyfriend that I thought they were swingers, which led to a conversation about the large swinger community in our area. He said he knew about it as well because his dad recently joined a few months ago. I then said, "Can I tell you something? You have to swear you won't tell anyone though." I trusted him enough to tell him about my parents being swingers. They had sworn me to secrecy, but sometimes I just need to talk to someone about it. And who would be better than him? Someone who also has a parent in the community, right? I told him that my parents were swingers, and he immediately let out a sigh of relief. This confused me, but I went on to say, "But my mum promised she wasn't sleeping with your dad. They probably met in the community now that I'm thinking about it, but they're just friends." My boyfriend had an odd look on his face, almost frustrated, and said that he needed to tell me something. Apparently, he's been beating himself up for months because My mum and his dad have been sleeping together and told him that if he told me, I'd break up with him. Mum has been going over to his house, which is how they first met. And when we first started dating, they created an elaborate backstory for him to tell me about how they met. Ew, why was she so desperate for you to hook up with the son of one of her boy toys? That's so creepy. He said that every time I talked about my parents, he felt even more discouraged to tell me about our parents being together because he was under the impression that I thought my parents were monogamous. He's felt guilty every day because he's had to keep this from me. On top of that, Mum has been going over there when I'm at work, turning off her location, and my boyfriend has heard them having sex. He said he was relieved to finally tell me and let this weight off his chest. I'm not gonna lie, after he told me all that, I got very angry. Mum has never lied to me before, and I felt so blindsided by this. Though, in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have. I made my boyfriend take my phone away till I calmed down on the drive home, which was about an hour, so that I wouldn't call her all angry and be mean. I wanted our conversation to be more productive than just an argument. As we pulled up to my house, I saw his dad's car in the driveway. This started up the rage again. I went inside and asked my mum if they were still sleeping together, even though I'm with his son. Long story short, she was angry that I was angry at her and said that she got here first. She said she was sleeping with him first, so I can't be mad. I asked her to stop sleeping with him from now on, and she said that it was complicated adult stuff, so she can't just stop. Later on, she apologized for lying to me, but never said she'd stop. His dad is moving away in a few months, but am I the a-hole for wanting them to stop anyway? Personally, I'd want to know why she was so keen for you to start effing the son of the guy she was sleeping with. Like, to literally lie to you, because she knew you wouldn't agree otherwise. Now, speaking of keeping it in the family, of all the people you think you could trust your husband to not cheat with, it'd be his own stepsister, right? Well, that's exactly what OP's husband does in the next video. Click here to watch. Don't worry, it won't take you to a spicy video site, I promise.